As you can see, this thing looks absolutely massive, and it actually looks quite a bit bigger than I thought it would have. But I think it's really good length, and I think once we get our oil clear on there and our lines, it really is going to visually kind of take away from how long the lip is, and that's kind of why it is as long as it is now, or at least it looks like it is, which I'm not denying the fact of how absolutely massive and long this thing is. It is about 4 feet long from the inside of the bumper all the way out to the tip here. As you see, we did kind of bring in the fronts. I did want it to come in a little bit to match the long nose. It is purposefully not at as much of an angle. That's kind of something that they do over there in Japan. Again, the gaps in here and everything is all going to be taken care of later on, just like with everything else. After we figure out where our flare is going to be, then we will butt this up with the flare nice, and we'll get a nice even gap all the way around there. As you'll see in the thumbnail, I stepped on this thing. I didn't step on it all the way at the tip, although I think it could take it. There's no reason to risk it, but this thing can take more than enough weight going downwards. And also, if it doesn't ever hit anything and does have to come up a little bit, we do have the movement for when it does need to go up that way. But because this thing is so heavy, I don't think we'll have any issues with it really bouncing around while we drive it if we do drive with this thing on. This thing is extremely sturdy. It's pretty easy to put on with even just 2 people. We are going to put a couple of supports in where you are going to be holding it up right here, since this isn't the most structural part, which it doesn't need to be usually, but because we are going to be grabbing it and picking up this entire thing from that area, we are going to put some supports in. I figured I'm going to wait until we trim this because this is a lot lower than it's going to be. We are going to make it 2 inches off the ground, just like the side skirts, perfectly all the way around. We gave some excess just so we can, adjust it once it's all done. So we are going to cut more of this. It is going to be a little bit further off the ground all the way around. But then once we do that, then we are going to add our supports in here where we are going to be grabbing to pick this thing up to take it on and off. Yeah, this thing is absolutely massive, super sturdy. I'm not worried about it at all. We'll probably drive with it. It just depends on how much. I have no idea if we're really going to drive with this thing on. Should be really the only limiting factor to this thing being able to drive on public roads. I think it should be able to drive for the most part. It's just yes, bigger dips and potholes, whatever else, will affect it. I think it's not going to be a huge deal because by the time I hit a pothole here, the majority of it will be over it. So it would really only hit the ground and scrape it. It wouldn't really catch or anything. It would really take a really garbage road or a really big road hazard for it to actually do anything to this if we do decide to drive it on the road with this, which is a possibility. We probably will, but how much, again, I don't know. Another person asked about the legality of this. I actually have no idea. I don't know what would even be the offense. There is one thing I know, that if you have stuff sticking out of your car, which I guess this could be considered, I know if you have like tubes or whatever else, wood sticking out of the back of your car, if it's further than 4 feet, I think you have to have a red flag, which this isn't further than 4 feet, but I don't know if that would really be put under that umbrella of an infraction. I really have no idea. We're just going to have to see if I get pulled over for it. And other than that, I don't really know what else is really going to be illegal about this thing, except for it's not going to have like a reverse light, which really you don't really get in trouble for. I don't know. I really don't know what would be illegal about this particular thing. Obviously, I don't know. I know that Moonlight Runners, the people where I've gotten the fender flares made from, I know that they have their super long lip, but I don't know to what extent they've driven it on the roads over there in California, and I have no idea if they've ever gotten in trouble for it. I could ask them, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Overall, I think it turned out really awesome. Obviously, it's nowhere near completed yet, but it is the initial shape, and it looks really good, and it is time to move on to completely tearing apart the rear end.
Oh, you still have to talk about the spoiler.
Yes. couple of days ago, we got a piece in from Moonlight Runners, which is the same exact people who made the fender flares. We got in this silk spoiler here. This goes under the car here, almost like a diffuser. It is a little narrow for the car, and we're gonna have to modify the car itself because it bumps down here a little too much, and then over here we have this pinch weld or whatever. So we are gonna have to mess with it a little bit before we can install this thing. But this is another major piece to this car that could not go without being done. But it's a pretty nice piece. I had a few of you guys asking where I got this thing, and I'll put the Instagram to the people who made this for me in the description if you are interested.
Which leads us to our next point.
Yeah. Before we install that thing, we are most likely going to redo the rear end, and then from there install our taillights. So in the next video, you will see me completely taking down this rear end, completely taking off the rear wing and modifying the rear end to be more like an authentic Bosozoku car. So guys, this is where we are gonna end it for today. We got a lot done on that front lip. We got those caps made and all glassed up. They're looking really good. They do have the gaps like we discussed. That's gonna be taken care of later on. We got our silk spoiler in, and those are two major pieces getting us that much closer to this thing being finished. Also, I added a few links in the description of all of the products that we use here in the shop. It's the cheapest products I was able to find for you guys, so check that out. Also, we got our new Bosozoku style merch line. If you are interested, it really helps out the channel and the progression of this build. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Hope you enjoyed, and peace out.